Okay, hey everybody, welcome to another episode of On the Wrist from Off the Cuff. Today we have an extremely new and cool model from Seiko. This is in particular, this is actually a JDM Presage release. So a little bit about Seiko, if you don't already know, they were founded back in 1888. They are, of course, Japanese in origin, and now they have factories throughout Asia. One of the very unique things about Seiko that really make them great is they cover all market segments. Now, I'm talking entry level, $50 watch, all the way up to, multiple thousands of dollars, precious metals, in-house movements, special breakthrough things in history, horological, history and breakthroughs, just really great stuff for everybody. So one of the really huge things that Seiko offers is, that they offer everything, which, I really am hard pressed to think of another brand that can kind of offer everything across the board. I'd say maybe the Swatch Group. If you counted that as one conglomerate, I think they'd probably be the closest thing. And it's crazy that Seiko can kind of compete with an entry level Tissot all the way up to, Blancpain. So I think that's really cool, and and definitely something to mention. So let's see. I guess I'd consider this particular piece, it'd fall into the genre of an everyday watch. Now, an everyday watch is something that's really just a versatile blend of sporty and dressy attributes. So you want something that is going to be robust enough to wear every single day, but not necessarily so tool watch, style that it's going to, not really dress up well. Now, I think that is kind of hits on the money what this watch does. It is right there. It dresses up really well, dresses down really well, and I think it's just infinitely versatile. This is, of course, the JDM Presage SARX or SARX045. Now, the retail price on these is, about $623 US, and of course that's just a conversion of Japanese yen. Now on the street you can find them in the 535 and up range. I'd say more commonly found around 575. So let's go ahead and zoom out here and pick this guy up and really get a couple of closer looks at really the beauty of this piece and kind of what makes it so special. Now, as far as dimensions go, of course, it has a 39.5 diameter, which I think is just fantastic. It is just that very nice sweet spot. And, I really do like 40 millimeter watches, but I think it being just under really suits it because it does have, kind of a wider case, as far as and the angles, it has wrist presence, and I think the combination of the actual physical spec being slightly smaller, but it actually presenting kind of a larger visual picture to you really adds to that and overall balance, and you'll notice that when I do get it on wrist here for the video. So it is an 11.3 millimeters high, which I think is, par for the course for a watch of this style, kind of an everyday. Definitely has the robustness there and looks nice and tough, but at the same time, it's not overly large. It really shouldn't be, considering it doesn't have any special complications that should really make this, that should bloat up that wonderful movement in there. Now, as far as lug to lug goes, it's only 48 millimeters. Now, that might be long, if you have a very small wrist, maybe, you're in the 6.5 and under range, but I think that's kind of what helps is, let's say I tuck away the bracelet there, as you can see, that's what makes that feel so well balanced, is it has the right size proportion dial for the right size proportioning on the case, and once you see it on wrist, then you just know that it really just gets it right across the board. Now, as far as the crystal goes, it is a flat sapphire with an inner AR coating. Of course, it's going to be hard to tell because it is a blue dial, but I mean, Seiko's not really known for their anti-reflective coating. And as you can see, I mean, there's not much that can really fight the studio lights I have in here anyway. But I will say that this definitely is a watch. I'd say a good indicator of how well the AR coating works is how well does it photograph outside in natural light. And normally if it has really good AR coating, it's going to look a lot clearer, and kind of how it looks right now, very clear, versus if it didn't have any AR coating, you'd probably notice a lot more of a glare and you wouldn't feel like you were really peering into the crystal itself. Now the bezel is polished very nicely, and it is fixed, of course. This is, you know, nothing sporty about it as far as that. There's no rotating option. As far as the crown goes, it's a non-screw down crown and it's unsigned, but it does have this really cool kind of cabochon style crown, which you'll find in, you know, much more expensive watches, really reminiscent of kind of the Cartier look there. So I think that was really a nice touch to kind of just give it that personality and just a little touch of class, and it kind of helps balance out a lot of the more sporty features of the watch. So the movement inside is the Seiko automatic 6R15D. So it's just the newer 6R15. You know, pretty much the big difference, this over like a 4R35 or 36, is that you're going to get the 50-hour power reserve because of this bronze hairspring. So really, really nice from that perspective. But I mean, as far as the look and the real architecture, it's just going to look very similar to, you know, what you'd find in a 4R or even a 7S26, just kind of with a nicer rotor there. But, you know, even the finishing inside, still very similar, very comparable. But, you know, really nice to have. Still the, you know, the display case back, I think is still a nice touch, especially for this type of watch. Now, as far as the dial goes, now that is something that is really special and kind of brilliant about this piece, is this dial. I'm really hoping that the studio lights can pick this up. I know even when I'm outdoors with this piece, it definitely, depending on where you are, this thing can just look completely black. And then other times you just kind of see how it lights up with that blue. So it does have machined texturing of kind of vertical planks that go up and down. I don't know if the camera's gonna be able to catch that. I can't really tell from the little screen that I'm looking through, but I'm hoping it is catching it there. And then it has even also kind of a faint sun ray that goes as well, which is really, really nice. This is a really deep blue, which I think is extremely versatile, especially for something you're going to try to wear as an everyday piece. You know, the brighter blues are definitely going to be something that's going to be, you know, a lot more polarizing, you know, as far as your wardrobe goes, and trying to have something that really can blend in with kind of any to any occasion. So as you can also notice, it does have that great applied Seiko logo, also applied indices, and then, you know, also has the painted minute track there as well. I think this is a pretty nice angle right before the light kind of catches there. You can see really beautifully done. Very minimalist, I'd say, dial, although it does have the textures. You know, there's not a lot of font on there, not a lot of script, and there's really no need for it. So, you know, it's just really beautifully done. It has, of course, a date complication at 3 o'clock with a very well executed date window frame, as you can see. And of course, the minute hand wants to be over it right when I mention it. And then the hands, of course, are polished, and as you can see, they do have, you know, a center line there because they do have a nice little contouring, a little fold down the middle. So that adds an extra dimension while you look at it, which I think ties in really well to those finely polished indices there that have been applied very nicely. So the water resistance on this bad boy is going to be 10 bar, which is 100 meters. It's pretty standard for a Seiko, but not necessarily standard in the industry. You'll find, you know, some very expensive watches that don't even have 100 meters water resistance. And not that they have to, but I just think it's nice that, you know, Seiko, even with a non-screw down crown, are able to achieve getting that 100 meters water resistant, and it's something that they're doing very confidently. So now moving on to the bracelet, it has 20 millimeter lugs, which is just perfect, you know, so if you do want to put this on a strap or a NATO or something like that, you definitely are going to have your pick of the litter as far as options go. Now, this beautiful bracelet is just fantastically done. It has a 20 millimeter, starts off up here, and then it tapers down to 18 millimeters. You know, very nice H-link style, but executed in a very particular kind of aesthetic. Then we have this great solid milled clasp, and this does come with 2 half links for sizing, which is really nice, and these are kept together by a pin and collar system. Although not the easiest thing to do, it definitely just gives you a little bit more, I'd say, just peace of mind versus just regular push pins. And it also keeps, you know, everything relatively affordable and thin, instead of trying to bulk it up and get screw pins in there. So this is one of the cases where it's a thin link, but I think it's right. It doesn't feel cheap. It's just designed to be more sleek. Now, of course, you can look at this and say, hey, the aesthetic, it looks, you know, that dial just reminds me of an Aquaterra, and, you know, or maybe a Nautilus, but, you know, turn the other way. And then, you know, the Nautilus also has an H-link bracelet, but this has more of the angular finish, similar to maybe a Royal Oak, right, from AP, where it has that really machined kind of flat. You know, this, to me, this almost looks like armor, and with that really, really fine, you know, beveling that they've done there, just all the facets of light that catch on there. I mean, you can see the break from polished to brushed is very nice. I mean, it's not, you know, super high-end Rolex quality there, but I mean, Jesus, this thing is, you know, under 600 bucks. You can get this watch, and look at that finishing there. It's just fantastic. Then you look at the bracelet itself, and then you look at those center links, and it just, I love that they are, you know, they look so flat on top, and then just the way it lays, it almost just has that kind of samurai armor look to it, and it just really ties into the angular case really, really nicely. So let's go ahead and get this on wrist. Now, on wrist, I am just loving this piece. I think it just has the perfect proportions. You know, of course, up close, it's gonna look a little bit big, but you take it down here and you kind of get a better look. And I mean, this thing just fits fantastically in person. To me, it just really sings as far as just, even if I discount the actual execution and the finishing that I'm loving so much, I mean, just really the way it wears. I mean, it's compact, but it just still offers so much wrist presence, which is really great. And then, of course, you know, really mesmerizes while catching the light in that dial, and also catching the light on the bracelet. I mean, if you just take a look at that, just a slow turn, a faster turn. Look at the way the light just dances right off of this guy. I mean, there's just so much eye candy, but it's all in the right way. There's nothing gaudy about it, right? It's not because it's oversized. It didn't need to be oversized to have a feeling of heft, to give you kind of a feeling of quality. Seiko knew what they were doing when they engineered this piece, you know, and this is really an exercise in design, and it's just, there's no tricks needed. You know, it's just a beautiful piece, and then it tapers really, really beautifully there. Nice and subtle as far as the look goes, but you definitely notice the comfort when you flex and you wear it on wrist. Then, as you can see, really hugs the wrist nicely. Extremely beautiful. I mean, I'm just drooling over this guy, and and I just love how versatile it is. I could literally wear this every day, and I just might. So really, really wonderful piece. You know, there are some other model variants, other three-hand models, but also some models that have complications, that kind of have the higher end 6R movements, that you'll see kind of where the date wheel is a you know, basically a sub dial, and then you got also power reserve and from that side. So there are some other variants for, you know, on both sides, and then you also have, you know, cream dial, brown dial, a really cool kind of steel ice blue dial similar to the cocktail time. You know, of course the same type of texturing here, but just I'd say that similar kind of ice blue, which is really attractive as well. And then of course you have options that are on bracelet and on leather, and I think this thing looks great on leather as well. But this, for me right now, you know, as you can see from my other videos, I love a good bracelet there, so I'm probably gonna be wearing it on this for quite some time, if not indefinitely. Now, as far as comparable models go, it is tough to compare anything to a good Seiko, because the pricing is just so, you know, it's just so far, I guess, removed from what you see everywhere else on the market when you're looking at in-house, when you're looking at the level of finishing and detail. And, you know, just look at that, the light just playing right off of that. I mean, it's tough calls, so I'd say probably the best way to compare it to anything would be to say, hey, you know, it's somewhere in between like a Grand Seiko and a SARB, right? So as far as finishing and value and all that goes, but this is definitely on the higher end even of the Presage line, which is it's saying a lot, because there are some very cool Seiko Presage watches. This is kind of their lead into kind of that luxury segment, you know, something a little bit above their kind of idea of what mid-tier is. So, you know, the Presage line is definitely really great, and I don't think it really needed anything extra added to it, but I'm really glad that they did add this bad boy. So, I mean, I'd say really the bottom line is, you know, it does offer you the higher end finishing, and as well as a higher end design. You know, it has perfect proportions with a really sleek silhouette, and it just exudes a sense of luxury. And that's rarely found in, you know, that even in the probably 2.5K range. So $2,500, it's tough to find something that is really comparable to this, and just the feel it gives you. And, you know, not to mention it's in-house, not to mention it has, you know, a nice 50-hour power reserve, not to mention it's from a company that's been around since 1881, that, you know, has really a laundry list of horological achievements, you know, in watchmaking. So this is something that I think the average person can understand. This isn't a department store Seiko, and at the same time, somebody who's a real aficionado will see this and really appreciate it for what it is and want to know more. So I think it's just really great, and you know, it's pretty unbelievable that you can get this for under $600. I mean, I'm just blown away. So definitely get these bad boys while you can. And if you like this video, please hit like. If you haven't already, do subscribe for more content just like this. And I will see you guys next time. Thanks.